Hello, friends. I'm Father Scott Vanderveer, continuing in our series on love. And today we're talking about the role of forgiveness in love. Forgiveness is a necessary ingredient in our ability to love. It would be easier for us if it were not, because forgiveness is one of the hardest things that humans are called to do. To choose to give up our right for justifiable revenge, to choose to give up our right to hold a resentment against someone who has treated us poorly. It is a marvel for us to recognize that if we do not learn how to do that very hard task of letting go past experiences so that we can be free, our peace will always be fragile. We will always be one person's choice away from losing our peace, from having no ability to feel at home in our lives. Because when someone hurts us and we're unable to move on, we are a prisoner of their unkindness. We can't move beyond it. We're stuck. And I've heard several images of non-forgiveness that really ring true for me. Images like forgiveness is necessary because non-forgiveness is like trying to drown another person who's hurt you by holding your own head underwater. Another one is non-forgiveness is like keeping someone who has offended you or wronged you in jail. You keep them in jail with an undetermined sentence. The only catch is you're the prison guard. You have to stay in jail with them and guard them from ever leaving the prison of resentment that you've put them in. Interestingly, a person that you have not forgiven doesn't necessarily even know that that is happening. They're not necessarily feeling that. They are living their lives, going about business, while you or I, the ones who can't forgive, are left guarding the door of their jail cell, where we feel that we have them incarcerated, but we're swinging the billy club and they're not even in there. So if we want to let ourselves out of a life sentence, if we want to lift our own head out from the bucket of water that we're holding it down in, we realize that forgiveness, as one author has said, is like setting a prisoner free and then realizing that the prisoner was you. You know what it's like to not forgive. You know what it's like to be able to rehearse in your mind the story of how a person wronged you or wronged me. You know exactly what that's like. All of us do. That's a human experience. But it keeps us in a rut. Someone once wrote about driving somewhere in the West where the roads are not paved, and when you actually have to drive in two tire tracks, two ruts in the road that require you to go whatever direction the ruts go. You can't change lanes when you're driving in tire track ruts. If the ruts turn right, you have to turn right. And if you encounter someone else coming the other way, one of you has to back up. So someone once said that when they were driving in the West and came to the edge of the paved road, there was a sign that said, "No pavement next 20 miles. And then it said, "Choose your ruts carefully." That is what non-forgiveness is like. If you're not going to forgive, you better choose your rut and stick with it. Because only forgiveness will bring you back to a paved road where you can use your turn signal and go where you wish. If you choose not to forgive, you must stay in your rut for the next 20 miles or the next 20 years, or as long as it takes for us to eventually maybe become senile and not remember anymore why this happened. It's interesting because all of us have to be able to learn how to walk away from the past, even if we don't get an apology. And one of the things that we've been talking about this week in the scriptures at Mass is the fact that Jesus calls for unity above all other things. Jesus is asking us to choose each other over our hurts, our grudges, even our opinions and values. Jesus says, I want you to choose each other, just as the Father and I always choose each other. So if we wish to forgive someone who has hurt us, we have to prepare to be willing to let go of whatever happened, even if the other person doesn't come groveling to tell us that they're sorry. One of the things that has been noted by people who work in conflict mediation is that many reconciliation attempts that were hopeful in the beginning fall apart because each party came knowing that they needed to forgive, but not expecting to be forgiven. For some of us, that's a bit of a shock, that the people who we feel have hurt us also perhaps look at the situation a bit differently than we do and feel that they have a grievance against us, that we were the ones that caused the hurt. So many reconciliation opportunities that seemed hopeful disintegrated because both sides came expecting to forgive, but not to need to be forgiven. So we have to be willing to choose each other over our grievances. Forgiveness doesn't necessarily mean that we're best friends with the people who have hurt us. We don't need to necessarily open ourselves up to the same relationship that we had before and allow the hurt to be repeated, especially if it happened more than once and was a pattern. But we can find the peace that comes from saying, that other person is made in God's image. I don't like some of the choices that they make, but I know that the same God who made me made them. And I choose to trust that God will work this all out by heaven. By the time we're in heaven, this will all be worked out. So let us grow in our love of unity. Let us grow in our appreciation that choosing each other means that we will never burn the bridge. We may choose not to cross it every day, but we're going to keep the bridge as a link between us. Having a love for unity means we're going to strengthen our forgiveness muscles because we're going to need to forgive. People have the potential to hurt and offend us every day and any day of our lives. So we must be open to the need to choose the paved road, because if we are stuck in non-forgiveness, we have to hold our own head underwater as we try to drown the person who hurt us. We have to be the prison guard who stays in the jail night and day with the prisoner who doesn't even perceive that they're there. So we should choose our ruts carefully, because we will be in them for the next 20 miles at least. May God bless you all.